your football team. Buses run every 10 minutes. Avoid the traffic. Don't get stuck in the delay. Get Ipswich buses today. A single £1.20, a return only £2. Find out more information at www.ipswichbuses.co.uk. Ipswich Buses, proud to partner with Talking Town. Again, my friends, and you are my friends, and it's Sunday already. The end of the weekend is nearly here. I know, depressing as it is, but we're here to talk about Ipswich Town after yesterday's 2-0 defeat away at the Stadium of Light, a performance that was nearly so good for large parts. We were arguably maybe in the game, maybe the better team at points. Who knows? We'll love to hear what your thoughts are today, but ultimately came away with no points. That is 1 point from the last 6. It makes Tuesday. Does it make Tuesday a must win? That's a question I'll probably ask at some point today. Is the season, as somebody said yesterday, season's on the line Tuesday. I'm not quite sure if I subscribe to that myself, but I'm willing to hear why you think it might be the case or why you don't think it might be the case. I've just noticed on the intro, though, that the boards are not up to date. Haven't been doing my job, naughty gov. So thank you to all of these wonderful Talking Town Fifth Stand Ultras, the people that support the show monthly through Ko-Fi. If you're not one of those, you can do so just by going to the Ko-Fi link now in the chat and supporting us from as little as £5 a month. We do sort of, well, if I asked my wife how many shows I did a week, she'd probably say 1 million. But we do what, a Monday show, a Wednesday show, a Friday show, a match day show. So we probably do 4 or 5 shows a week. So for £5, you're going to get, I think, but I'm biased, obviously, banging value. But there are the Talking Town Fifth Stand Ultras. We thank you all ever so much. I will update the intro as soon as I possibly can. Let's get a few comments before we get into the show. We've got Colin Plum, the GOAT. Please, everyone, keep the faith. I know as well as anyone it's difficult, but hopefully we will get to where we want to be. Come on, you Blues. Graham, good afternoon from Northamptonshire. Good afternoon, Neil. John, yesterday was nearly the perfect away performance. Unfortunately, we just came up short. Roy Clark, that's a good idea, Colin, but the team are not doing it on the pitch. RMSM0204. I was at the game yesterday. Good to see Crunch in the queue at the turnstiles. Don't think we deserve to lose, but if you don't put the ball in the net, and Selena had 2 or 3 chances to do that, didn't the RMSM, you're not going to win. Long drive home. Nick Muller, welcome in. Lee Brown, afternoon all. Was there yesterday? All huff and puff, no quality in the final third. Losing patience now. We've got EJ in the chat. Didn't deserve to lose the game. Did not deserve to win the game. Simple as that. That's a very fair point. Some say we didn't deserve to lose, but did we do enough to win? That is a fairly good question. We've got Rob Holmes, harsh reality of football, I'm afraid. Outplayed Sunderland, then go and lose due to a keeper error and a dodgy penalty. And someone, well, hi, Gov. Are you okay with yesterday's show? Yes, I am okay. The sun is shining. It's a new day. It's Sunday. And I will just drop this in before we go any further. What you hear in this podcast for the next 60 minutes may not be to your liking. You may like it. You may disagree. You may love it. You may agree. That's football. What you'll get out of my contributors, out of myself, and I'm sure out of the people that speak in the live chat and come on the show, if anyone does click the link today, is 100% honesty and passion for their football club. So this is a place where we can debate how we feel about our club. You're more than welcome to come on and have your say in your own words, unfiltered, about what you feel and think of things. Or you can do so in the live chat. That's the beauty of this platform. It's for everybody. We just ask you to be honest and say what you feel about your club. Right, let's bring in our first contributor. He is, of course, although he claims, I was about to say pointless in the prediction league, but he claims to have points at last on the prediction league. That can't be true. it ain't so. He can't have points, surely. Surely you can't have points.
I'm pretty certain I put Rotherham 3, Cambridge 1. I'm pretty certain.
You're pretty certain you put Rotherham 3, Cambridge 1.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to look into that at some point. But this surely, hell, Satan, someone check on Satan's backyard. It must have frozen over because, good grief. How are you, Matthew?
I'm a bit grumpy, to be honest with you, after yesterday. I mean, look, it's two sides. I'm a bit grumpy about the football, but the good news from my family is I've become an uncle. I'm now Uncle Media Mogul.
Woohoo!
My sister gave birth to a little girl just before the weekend. So that's all good. So going to see her this afternoon.
She wasn't like town yesterday then, all huff and no puff and nothing arrived. She was huff, puff, and then there's a baby arrived.
There was a bit of puffing and puffing beforehand. Yeah, very good. Very good. But
I'm here all week.
I'm sorry to tell everyone, she's on the West Ham side of the family.
Well, she won't be going to Europe then.
Yeah, no, exactly. Although they are going to Tenerife early next year, hopefully. So in theory, she is, but not with the football team. But she ain't going to be a blue and white, I'm afraid. She ain't going to be a tractor girl. She's going to be a hammerette.
No, she's really not. And obviously, you said at the start of the show there, you're feeling a little bit down. Last week, you were equally the same position. Somebody on Twitter said to me we were a bit negative. We were always always negative. And I then sent him the Wickham post-game show, the Portsmouth post-game show, because we're not. When the football team delivers what we crave it to deliver, you'll get the most positive off-the-wall bouncing show in the world.
Oh, God,
let's be honest. Let's be honest. What is there to be positive about yesterday? If we come on doing handstand, back salts, somersaults, and say everything's great, half the fan base will call us what, Matthew?
Happy clappers.
Happy clappers.
Absolutely. I mean, look, again, we've taken huge away contingent. I know Lee Brown's feeling grumpy in the chat there. I know he was up there with Puncher and several others yesterday. That is not around the corner journey, is it? We've travelled in great numbers. And you can tell when Cook, I think, is under pressure, or the club know they've not delivered, because the first thing they say in the media interview is, we've travelled in great numbers again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And we do. We really do.
And this is a huge bugbear for me. We're not putting in the performances that warrants the huge numbers.
No. We haven't done for a number of years.
No.
We haven't done for a number of years.
We do travel in such great numbers, and the fan base is so loyal. What you see on the pitch doesn't deserve it. It would not be tolerated in Europe, let me tell you.
Well, no.
Games until it turned around, or the fans got what they wanted.
No, certain places are, definitely, like Marseille, for example. Proper. They wouldn't tolerate nothing. John Thorpe, before I bring in our third contributor, I think a lot of people have forgotten the damage caused by a Marcus Evans reign. Cookie has had one transfer window against time and patience from me, something that is sadly lacking in football. Matt, you've been a big believer in obviously Paul Cook.
Yeah.
What when you read a comment like that, what's your response?
Yeah, I mean, look, factually, you're right there, John. He has had one window, but in that window, he's the most backed Ipswich manager in history. History, I can't think of any other window where someone was backed so much, and we were so privileged to be in that position thanks to the game changer and Ashton coming in and O'Leary coming in. Mick McCarthy certainly wasn't backed like that. Bloody hell, Bobby Robson wasn't even backed like that. Although that was a bit of a different culture in terms of getting players in back in the day. He let more in the academy, didn't he? But look. My take on it now is Cook's had more than enough time. More than enough time.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Before we go any further, I want to have a quick shout out to Josh at awaydatebeers.com. That man, Matt, has got more owl and more content coming out than me. Would you believe? He's got a series coming out which he goes and delivers the beer to the person it's named after, which I'm really looking forward. That's quite a unique little idea from Josh at Away Day Beers, and I'm really looking forward to watching that. I've just retweeted on Twitter the trailer for it. We all know you're a big lover of not only Romanian wine, but also Away Day Beers. What's your favourite go-to beer? Because last night I had maybe 2 or 3. Many than I should have done.
Oh, did you? I'm not sure you can get it in the packs. Bundeslager. If Josh is listening, Bundeslager. Do me like a little continental pack or something. The Bundeslager is really nice, and then I like Hoppy Robson as well. That's very good.
It's a good one.
But I mean, people have been so nice to me and bought me like Duncan, for example.
Yes, Big Dunk, love him.
And some of the TT people have sent me beers. I really appreciate it. I've got so many, they're all in the cupboard at the moment. So I don't want to drink them all at once, if you see what I mean. I want to be able to spread it out a bit. But I will say, people who sit around me at Paul Road, I think I mentioned this Friday.
You did, yeah.
Michelle and David and Pauline and all that crew and Duncan, they bought David some away day beers for his birthday on the back of it being on the show.
Yes. Well, there you go. It works. And that's, so yeah, go, as I just said in the chat, go to awaydaybeers.com if you are into your album. Particularly Christmas coming around the corner, Matt. You know, if you've got that uncle that you never see or whatever, you think, what should I get him? Well, get him a football-inspired beer. You got Man City-inspired beer, West Ham-inspired beer, Bundeslager, loads of options. So awaydaybeers.com. What I was going to say, we'll get a few comments. Ian Davies, Hughes numbers great, but teams like Brentford and Bournemouth have succeeded without numbers. Ben Moore, Selena not in the team. Tuesday for me, he's too lightweight and was the ball too often. I think he's being played out of position. We'll get into that in a bit, I'm sure. Matt's done. I'm sorry to hear that. Neil Perk sending I love to you. I hope you're okay, Neil. First goal we gave away was awful.
It's Mummy's birthday. It's his mummy's poorly.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that.
Mum, Neil. Yeah,
absolutely. Paul Bird. The performance was there yesterday. What we didn't do was that final killer pass or great enough to win. That game was easy and for the taking. Kiwi, we've been down for so long that we now have a brighter future. It's easy to get impatient for success, but keep the faith. People laugh at me. Not laugh at me. That's a wrong word.
Is it brighter? Is it brighter?
Off the field, it is.
Oh, off the field, absolutely.
Yeah, but everyone's confusing off the field improvements with on the field needs for keeping the changes or keeping the faith. Right, let's bring in our third contributor. She is the wonderful Kate Riley. Kate, welcome in. How are you? Oh my God, get rid of the Christmas tree, Kate. It's November.
Festive. Like it.
It's a fake one. It's not a real one. Some people import them here in Singapore, but it is a fake one. We normally go for a real one. So, but yeah, sorry, just got to suck it up. We're kind of like halfway through decorating, so it's very much a work in progress right now.
I will say we had a bit of a loft clean out before the game yesterday, and I did bring the Christmas decorations down, ready for the start of December, Martin. Before you get umpy, they're down and ready. They're not obvious yet, but look, it's nice to see some festive cheer, right? Because
come on, you got to cut me some slack. We've been in lockdown. Yeah. We've been in lockdown most of the year, and we're still in lockdown. Okay. We're still in lockdown. We go from lockdown to semi-lockdown tomorrow, so you can't begrudge me having the Christmas tree up.
You're moving down a tone. Right. Yeah.
I love the tree. It looks great. It looks really good. If it was the first, it's gone. Oh, there it's come back in. If it was the 1st of December.
Right.
But this is a real bugbear of mine. People that decorate their houses, their trees, their houses before the 1st of December at the very least. Like, I've got a friend, she's had some decorations like since October. She was celebrating bonfire night under a Christmas tree. She's getting her holidays all confused. Do you know? It's a real goat of mine. But let's focus on good news. Any good news this week from UK, from and your part of the world? What's made you happy? Made you smile? Made somebody else smile that you've enjoyed? What's going on?
Yeah, we can be in groups of 5 tomorrow, so I can see some other mum friends.
Nice.
My family can all sit at one table, so the baby doesn't have to sit on their own.
Nice.
As of tomorrow. Yes,
have you got 5 people you want to see?
I don't know a lot of people here, so I'll be struggling to go out in a big group. I have been invited to a Thanksgiving party next week, so that's nice. Yes. Oh, and big shout out, Callie. You introduced me, and Callie says, "Where's Crunch?"
I know. It's because they want to know if he's going to blow his gasket or not. But he's refereeing, isn't he? He's refereeing today. He's back next week, where hopefully we've beaten Rotherham, and then we're going to beat Crewe back next Monday. That's the plan. Sunday, absolutely, yeah. It's an annoying Sunday. Yeah, I say that, Kate, because when in this country we're allowed to go and mingle with people, and they said you can meet up to groups of 6 or whatever it was, I realised I didn't like 6 people. So I had an issue because they say you can meet up to 6, and I suddenly realised I probably liked sort of 1, my wife. The rest of you, so that didn't quite work. But anyway,
Ebenezer Lambert.
Well, it has been. Well, it has been said in the group chat, Matt, that I am somewhat negative. You know, it has.
Yeah,
it's starting to rub off on you.
We are. Yeah, we all are a little bit, aren't we?
We are right. Back to the game. Colin Plum, who won the show, if you've not seen it yesterday, the Fans React show, was like a coiled spring ready to go, but it was holding it back really well. But you could see that the goat was sort of hurting. He says in the chat here, I was as low as a snake's belly yesterday, but I've picked up today. Let's slaughter Rotherham on Tuesday. Come on, you Blues. RMSM, trying to keep context. Thoroughly disappointed after yesterday's result, but not even halfway through the season. You remember Palace in 05-06, bottom 3 on Boxing Day and got promoted. They also changed their manager, I believe, that year to Ian Dowie.
They did.
I think it was the catalyst for that. Might be wrong. It was back in 05. I could barely remember last week, let alone 05. Paul Bird, Cruncher was asleep at his tractor wheel this morning. Gally, Matt Stannard, Cruncher should do a strange refereeing. Escape. Cruncher doing referee show about losing control. I think that would probably be with his pink boots, Matt, don't you think?
Dishing out the red cards with the solar red boots.
Yes. Right. Yesterday, 2-0 defeat, Stadium of Light. Talk to me, Matt. First of all, come to you. What's your overall thoughts from yesterday? Having listened to the fan base, read social media, watched the game highlights, blah, blah, blah. Talk to me, lay it on the line. What's going on?
I've watched all the 90 minutes. We looked comfortable. We looked really comfortable. And, we passed the ball around well. But again, it's that bugbear again, isn't it? We saw it in Oxford. We had chances. We didn't score. And then we've given away. We'll come to the penalty in a minute.
Well, I think that's kind of irrelevant, really, because it was in garbage time, as I'll call it. And it was already a defeat. It's just the case of whether it was 1-0 or 2-0.
We've just given away a terrible goal. Well, Walton's. I thought he'd overhit it at first when watching it in the 90 minutes, and he looks like he's overhit it. And Walton's stretching him. He's a big lad, isn't he? What is he? 6'5", 6'6". He's full stretch. Seems to run into a blue wall and maybe one Sunderland player in there, and it's a really easy header. The Sunderland commentary didn't even think it'd gone in at first. And, I really like Sunderland because, the show I liked on Netflix, I really like how the club is centered to everything in the community, pretty much what kind of Ipswich is getting back to and where it used to be. And, it's the lifeblood of that local area, and it's a great stadium and a club with great history. But, and I really like them, and I would like to see them do well and be promoted with us. But they look like the most underwhelming Sunderland side I've seen in a long time. Probably when they got relegated down from the Championship, they didn't have any creativity in there particularly. But I think they only had 2 shots on goal. One was the header, one was the penalty. As you say, the garbage time, and they did not have to work very hard to win the game. Whereupon we were comfortable and creating chances and didn't really trouble. Then we get done. Look, certainly, I saw Mark Downey, who was at the game yesterday and was over. I hope you had a good journey, Mark. Selena should have had a couple, shouldn't they?
Well, we've had 13 shots, only 4 on target. I can't remember too many chances watching it back or thinking back.
Selena certainly were 3 of those were in one move, weren't they? Within seconds of each other. Selena, I think, had 2 bites of the cherry, and then Bond with that sort of standing overhead kick that Hoffman, the guy from Bayern Munich, saved. But to me, Selena looks like he's coasting. I'm sure he isn't in terms of his inner attitude and everything.
Playing in the wrong position.
Well, he's playing in the wrong position. I don't get why they keep playing him at number 10. And he seems much. He's certainly a level below what he was in the first spell at Town. That's for certain. He's not having much impact on games, particularly from that position. So I would start Chaplin there on Tuesday and maybe push Selena over to the left and see what happens. But that said, I thought Edwards did all right yesterday. I think he was having a very good game, actually.
Yeah. Kate, obviously, you've woken up again and the result hasn't gone our way. You've then, sort of looked at the highlights, read the match reports, etc., etc. What are your thoughts all the way from Singapore? Again, second week in a row, we're not. It's not.
Well, no, because I'm going to come across as a really negative witch. So
self-proclaimed.
No, just I don't know. I'm just not a believer in Paul Cook. Just we have the talent there. We have a much improved side. I just don't think he's the right guy. I'd be interested to know your opinions on at what point does he lose the dressing room, if at all. Does he lose the dressing room first, or is it the faith in the owners he loses first?
It's a good question, Matt.
I'm not sure he loses the dressing room. I think there's too many of his lieutenants in there, like a Morsey and a Chaplin. They've dropped down specifically for him. And Christian Walton, of course, has come to Town on loan because he played for him at Wigan. But I am kind of in that camp at the moment. I was leaning towards it last week. I feel like he's had enough time now, and I said we did say the three of us had this chat last week. Something is missing in that jigsaw for me, and I know Martin thinks he's the manager. Something's not quite right. I just can't put my finger on it. It's certainly not the Paul Cook we've seen in other clubs for me, at Wigan, at Chesterfield, at Portsmouth, where they were really kind of flying. We've been flying in bits and spats, haven't we? 4-1s here and there, a 6-0 here and there. We can't put back-to-back wins together, basically.
Yeah, and like when Paul Cook was announced as our manager, like the big sports fans that I know here through my limited social network, they were really excited that we had Paul Cook as manager. And so for them to be really excited, that obviously instilled confidence in me. I thought, oh, okay, we're going to have a really good season here. But I've never shared their excitement like last season or this season. So
and I get that. I was doing a few summers before we came on, and like I think he's now had 34 games across 2 seasons, of which he's managed to get 43 points from available 102. So that'd have you tracking for about 59, 60 points across 46 games, which is 15th. Which is 15th.
Yeah. According to Statman, and big up Statman, yesterday he put out a tweet saying that he's now lost more ITFC games than he won. 10, drawn 13, lost 11. That obviously does include that obviously does include last year. And then he put out a tweet this morning saying that more or less the exact same thing as yourself in terms of points prediction. Or ITFC are forecasted to reach dock with 61 points and 87 goals. That's surely not. I mean, I get the patience, fans that are us. I've got two things I'll say here. First of all, I think we're in danger as a fan base of turning from Ipswich Town fans into either Paul Cook fans or not Paul Cook fans, and losing sight of what we're sort of working towards, supporting and looking to. Like too often you see after a win, where are the cookie haters now? And too often after a defeat, you see, I told you about Paul Cook. We're Ipswich Town fans. You won't see cookie haters after a win, because the whole point of cookie hating, I suppose, is because you want the club to do well and to win. And vice versa, when defeats happen, it hasn't got to be all on the players' shoulders and not on Cook. The second thing I think it's important to say, because too often I say it's all about the manager. And we're defending or supporting a man, not instead of a football club. That's what I feel sometimes. Second of all, I get the patience, and I'll bring Stephen on in a second because I know what I think he's going to say. Patience. No one said this year would be our year. No one said we'd get promoted this year. But surely, Matt, Kate, when you're building a house, when you're building a boat, when you're building whatever, building a long-term plan, you've got to have measurements of success and measurements of progress. Otherwise, how do you ever know you're moving in the right direction? So what's the measurement of progress, before I bring Stephen on, that we should be looking at and thinking, well, that's the bench line, and if we don't achieve that, we're not moving in the right direction. So our patience is being not rewarded by the right foreman. What do you think on that, Matt?
I think we are being patient, quite frankly, because as I said before on the show, if we'd seen these players come in dribs and drabs, then there's a foundation being built, right? But a huge transfer window of 19 players, of players that have dropped down on big money, suggests to me that they're going for top 2. Tell me I'm wrong. That's not like a smattering of youngsters that are coming from other clubs, and we've taken some prospects out of League 2, and now we're putting them all together with our academy guys and the experienced players we've got, and we're going to build this season and then go on into next season, see if we can get promoted. That squad, tell me if I'm wrong, that squad's been built to be promoted this season. Why would Morsey or Chaplin come down a division to float around League 1, other than they're on some serious wedge?
That's pretty rare, isn't it, for a player to start playing in the Championship? I would have thought start playing in the Championship, and then in the same month, still with a suspension in the Championship, drop to League 1. I would have thought that's pretty rare. Kate, obviously, what Matt just said there and what I've said. What are you thinking? What are you feeling?
Yeah. Okay. So no one said, "Oh, we can guarantee you promotion this year," but the manner of how the takeover happened and all the excitement and all the fanfare for that, you're not telling me that there was an undercurrent of we'll take you up this season?
Absolutely.
Possibly. I just think
No,
top
you can
six.
disagree with me.
Well, I'm trying to bring balance. I think
what Kate says is correct, Maya. There's nothing there when you see them signings coming to suggest we're hoping to reach the top 6. Do you know what I mean?
it's a case of we're going to be in the top 6. That's the measure.
We're not even in the top 6. Look, look, it depends if you glass half empty or glass full, right?
Have we touched the top 6 once yet?
I'm not sure. Have we? Maybe.
I don't think we have.
Yeah,
once.
Maybe. No.
I don't think we
I'm not
have.
sure.
We started with a draw. Then we got a defeat.
Yeah.
2 defeats, I think. Wasn't it Morecambe, Cheltenham, and Burton the first 3 games?
Morecambe draw, then the 2 defeats at Burton and Cheltenham. But we're 7 points off the playoffs right now. But perversely, we're also 7 points off 18th. So the bigger picture is, to me, if we were lucky to get out of jail against Morecambe, last minute equaliser, Sheffield Wednesday, last minute equaliser, last minute winner against Fleetwood. We would, without those, would be 18th right now.
Yeah.
So the bigger picture worries me. The bigger picture
wheel should be a bike.
But again, but you're what I'm saying is, you're as far away from 18th as you are from 6th.
I know. All right, we got Pierre Brown. Yes, I agree. Let's see some Pigott with Bon now. Kiwi Tractor Boy. Cook is due criticism. Too slow to react. Not flexible enough. He has to take his share of the blame. Mark Downing. We are playing better football than we have done in years. Just need to be more clinical, even though we are scoring goals, which sounds contradictory. Had we scored one yesterday, they'd have a collapse. Great point. But then the budget is bigger than we have had in years. So
we'll never know if they would have collapsed. Crowd might have behind them. We'll never know, will we? But
Rotherham crew
taking the lead. I do agree. I think we were in a great place.
Oh yeah, the fans were on the back halfway through the second half. I could hear from the radio. They weren't sounding great. Please, we mix it up a bit. It's all too predictable. That's about the formation. Stephen, bring some balance to the show, my brother. As you always do. Really looking forward to hearing what you've got to say. Could you say some great points?
Where's your Christmas tree?
Man, it's still in Clinfield, Mick Cupboard.
Good man.
I don't bother taking it out. I don't bother taking it down. I just wrap it all up in Clinfield and then wrap it again. It's only up for a few days.
When did you stick it up?
Probably about 20th of December.
Stephen, we don't worry about football, but we're agreeing about this. You're a man after my own heart.
Mrs. will be asking me in about a week to stick it up, but it's when I can be bothered to get it out.
Absolutely. What are you thinking, Steve? You've heard the
like I said, I have my opinions and everybody has theirs. Yeah, I don't discredit anyone else's opinions, and I just hope people don't discredit mine.
Absolutely.
I think people jump on this Paul Cook thing a bit too quick, not necessarily over a bad result or a good result. I just think sometimes, if the players had pulled their fingers out, we wouldn't be talking about Paul Cook. If Salina had scored a goal against Oxford, or Salina had scored a goal against Sunderland, or that when that first goal went in, everyone's blaming Walton. Walton walked into a crowd of 3 Ipswich players. What the hell were they doing? Standing there having tea.
The blue
while one player dived up and added it. Of course he's going to walk into them because they're not doing the jobs. It was basic bloody defending. There's a man there, ball's coming in, your goalkeeper runs into 3 of them because they're not doing the jobs. They shut off. It's the same as Oxford. They got so complacent. They were so dominant in the game. They just thought, they're never going to score. And we shut off. And then this, unlike Oxford, they just stung us on the break on a corner, which can happen at any time and anywhere. Yeah. This was not skilled Barcelona freaky football that we were playing. It was a punt in the box, and our players didn't know what day of the week it was. And someone got their head on it. That could have gone either side of the post. So I think all this just jumping on Cook, he's got to show he's got to show some of the responsibility. But people are saying, well, the substitutes were wrong. They were the players people were calling for on Twitter. And then after the game, they were the wrong substitutes. So what do you expect him to do then? If they're asking for these players, if they're asking for like Chaplin to come on, and they're asking for Fraser to come on, and Pigott maybe could have had more than 10 minutes, but he still put him on. Yeah, if you're asking for these players to come on, and at that time, let's remember, we're still 0-0. So he wasn't taking Bon off and bringing Pigott on to try and get a goal. That was what he was trying to do, but he wasn't trying to chase down a lead. I'm pretty sure he'd have probably ended up with 2 strikers, 1-0 down. So I don't get. It's as if people are just waiting for something to have a dig at him about. You know, there's something that's annoyed them. There's something that's annoyed them. Yeah, I don't know what it is, and it's just like I know and I trust the board. Yeah, and the owners, they will make the decision when they think it's right. I trust these more than I trust Marcus Evans, and I think they will make a decision when they think it is right. I'm not going to be standing there with no bedsheet going get him out, because I'm pretty sure they're going to turn. This is no, it's not a disparagement.
No, Rich isn't here to defend himself. Okay.
No, it's not a disparagement to Rich.
I had a bedsheet about Mick McCarthy, so I think it's all about me.
No, it's not a disparagement to anyone. I'm just saying it as a protest. You know, I'm not going to be doing that to get rid of this manager, because I'm pretty sure the owners aren't as, you know.
I don't think anyone's at that point.
No, I know. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I'm not going to, because it's unlike Marcus Evans, who really, in the end, didn't care. These do. And they're not going to sit there. You know, like Ollie got sacked this morning. You know, at the end of the day, when an owner who actually wants something to happen doesn't see it happening, they will act. They don't need us to be standing there going, boo, boo, boo. They will act. They've got money invested in this. We've got time and emotional effort, which is expensive to some people. But we don't have millions of pounds invested in this. They do. And they're not bloody stupid. You know, I honestly think things will come good. I still think things will come good. That's not me being naive. I think a lot of it, and this goes back to the point you made about everybody getting a bit too hyper, I think that was probably a bit naive from the Americans, not quite knowing English football as well as it should have done. And maybe they came in like the bells and whistles and trumpets, and everybody saw these players come in and everybody thought, oh, well, we're going to be great. You know, well, United spent the second amount of money in the whole world, and they're not very good. Money doesn't win you nothing. You know, you can get a foundation, you can get a base, and remember, also you've got to remember, 50% of transfers just don't work. You know, it's got to be a process of one transfer window, then a January. If he's not cooking by the end of this year, then we have to revisit it. Does that mean that, you know, we go up? I don't know. Does it mean we don't go up? I don't know. I ain't got a little crystal ball to tell me what's going to happen at the end of the year. I think we will be there or thereabouts by the end of the year, but that's just me. That's
several points I pick up on, and I'll bring Matt or Kate in. First of all, I think you're right. People do, and I think it's the culture we're now sort of a worldwide culture where people have got to be right. So when you say something on social media, you're not allowed to change your mind. That's the rule. You've said it on social media, so that's it. You must always think that way from this point on. And then you must always try and validate it and say you're right. So what you say there about people trying to pull up something about Cook, that's both sides of the argument. You know, I experienced it obviously after Wickham, for example, and I had several people say to me, you know, now tell me you don't want Cook or blah blah blah. And second of all, I completely get what you're saying in terms of transfer window to window, etc. But as I said, what's the level of progress? Where's your measurement? Is it a top 6? Because just saying, Matt, well, as Steve has just said there, and correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, we're there or thereabouts with the squad we've got. Is being there or thereabouts an acceptable measurement of the progress?
Well, you have to look at it in a context, don't you? It's not just like black and white, is it? Because you get in from one minute, everybody turning around saying this is the strongest League One we've ever had, you know, with the likes of Rotherham being there, Wickham being there, Sheffield Wednesday being there. You know, you've got that context, yeah? And then you've got, you know, the context of we've spent a lot of money. Those two are not mutually exclusive. But the point is, are other players, you know, you've also got the point of other clubs like the Plymouths, the Rotherhams, the Wickhams, they've had more time to build a foundation together.
But then what you're talking about with Plymouth is a team that's built on a fraction of a budget, and the extra is being made up by the management team. That's my take on it, because
that's not what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
What I'm saying is
Plymouth. I say, well, Plymouth are theoretically, if you put team to team, shouldn't be anywhere near town, Matt. But tactically, maybe they're a bit more like yesterday. Lee Johnson, I said on the show yesterday, Lee Johnson completely tactically classed Paul Cook. He changed his lineup. He changed his formation. Then in the game, he brought Aidan McGeady on, changed it again. Every time Cook had a heartbeat on what Sunderland were doing, Johnson changed the game. We don't do that enough.
I don't agree with that. I'm sorry, I can't.
Well, they won the game 2-0.
Yeah, because we switched off at a corner and had a debatable penalty. That was it. It wasn't a masterclass by even his own fans are saying this was not a masterclass by Lee Johnson. So why are we saying it? If Sunderland fans can't even come to the conclusion Lee Johnson was quality and it was a masterclass that beat Ipswich, how the hell can we say it, for God's sake?
All right, well, Matt, over to you.
Well, I know Kate's she's got the oval team.
Yeah.
What do you think, Kate? Do you think we should be top 6 is the bare minimum?
Top 6 is the bare minimum. Feel like yesterday was a 6-pointer. What makes it worse is I've done that drive home from Stadium of Light back to Ipswich in my SGR days, and that is brutal. And just, I don't know, that drive home just must have compounded how everyone everyone must be feeling. If we failed to make the playoffs, because of course I sort of blame him for screwing up our chance in the playoffs last season. And if he was to do that again this season, I know it's different squad, different owners, different era. Playoffs bare minimum for me.
Yeah. Okay. The facts are there that he did take us from the playoffs down into mid-table.
To be fair, I think that's where the dividing fans come from. Those who are prepared to forget about last season, because at the end of the day, let's all remember every season is different, and every season has to be forgotten at some point. You know, we still live off seasons we had in the 70s. You've got some people turning around. Well, some point you've got to forget about them things. You have to forget about it sometime. Do you always forget about it when you sack a manager? All I'm saying is, Gov, and this wasn't a criticism, it was the fact that I don't think it's necessarily how much money you spend. It's how much time you have developing those players. If you look at Plymouth, if you look at Rotherham, you look at Wickham, all those teams have been together for a long period of time. And they know each other. They know each other inside out. Our players spent the first 2 months of being here finding a house. It's a huge gap. It's a huge difference. And there's a lot that they have to cope with.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I take that point, and then I say, and this was made on yesterday's Fans React post-game show, and then I say, Matt, okay, take that, buy that, but then you always have to hold somebody accountable. So in that case, surely it's down to it. You then remove the blame from Paul Cook. You say it's not your blame, and you give it to Mark Ashton and co. And you say you've built a squad and a team and gone too far. You've gone all fantasy football with it, and you should know that football doesn't need doesn't work with 19 news. Because someone somewhere has to be accountable, don't they?
Well, yeah, absolutely. The person who is accountable for the players is Paul Cook. We said that last week. He wouldn't say no to any of these people coming in, was he? In the summer,
name me a manager that would.
Say again.
True.
Name me a manager that would.
Exactly, Steve. Yeah. You're totally right. Yeah, Cookie is accountable for it, and I just think we're underwhelmed. Me as a Cook fan, in terms of what his CV was when he came in, he was one of the best people that was available for us. Multiple titles, promotions. There's no getting away from it. Ipswich Town are now sitting in 10th in League One as we head towards December. It's not good enough.
Right, I know you want to get other people on, so I just want to leave you with this point. I'm still behind Paul Cook. It's not because I'm naive or stupid. It's because I'm 50 and I've played.
No one's called you either of those things on this platform.
No, I have. It's like all I'm saying is let's not just start throwing the baby out with the bathwater. May could come round. He's still here, and things could look completely different. And I don't want anybody to sit there going, "Oh, I felt silly in November saying Paul Cook out when we're third and in playoff final," which could quite easily happen. It's not beyond the realms of possibility. And I don't want a fan base going into a situation where we're going into a playoff final where half of them was turning around and saying, let's get rid of him. Let's just have a little bit of a chill down, a little bit of a calm down. Yeah. And just be united. That's all we need to be. We're fans. We just enjoy it. We enjoy it and we get annoyed, we get frustrated. But let's just do it together and not hate each other doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because when we hate each other, we lose.
I completely agree with that. Completely and utterly agree with that. As I said at the start of the show. Steve, as always, it is a
Well,
pleasure
cheers,
to discuss football with you. Look after yourself. Kate, also, we'll say goodbye to you.
Thank you. See you in 2 weeks' time.
See you in
Happy
a fortnight.
Thanksgiving to everyone this
Happy
week.
Thanksgiving to you. Thank you for coming on the show and giving us your
Okay,
thoughts. Look
see
after
you soon.
yourself. We'll have a quick palate cleanser from a friend of the show, and then we'll get back more into Sunderland Ipswich debate. The link is in the chat. Get involved. Welcome to Private Space Therapy, the business of our very own milk tray man, Ben Adams, who's a certified therapist and counsellor registered with the BACP. Ben's offering appointments face-to-face in Colchester on the beautiful university grounds, or by video, telephone, or even home visit. So if you do feel like you need someone professional to listen, to understand, and to discuss what's going on with you, give Private Space Therapy a call. Private Space Therapy. Non-judgmental, unconditional support with you at the centre always. Call 01206 259 311. Great guy, Ben. I'll be using him myself.
Yep,
love football, Matt, right? Because you go from, I've got Ian Davis, I'll say this first. If we fail to reach the playoffs, Cook will be sacked, if not before. He's had the chance to forge this team in his own image. Investment was huge. Then Kiwi says managers had to be given more time in general. Tottenham gave that bloke format. Yeah, but they didn't want Nuno Santos, I don't think, from the start, did they, Matt? It was kind of a settle.
It was like their 12th choice, wasn't it?
Yeah, truly successful team, build a culture. So then we've got Josh, Sunderland fan. From a Sunderland fan, you were the better team until Aidan McGeady came on, right? So that's what I was saying about Lee Johnson bringing McGeady on, changing the way they went up top. And then you've got John Thorpe saying, come on, Gov, that was no Lee Johnson masterclass. So I love football because obviously the Sunderland fans saying the substitution changed the game. And then the John saying, no, not Lee Johnson. I can only go by what I was hearing on the radio. And Brennan was clearly saying when Aidan McGeady came on that Sunderland turned into a better team, looks more threatening. And for me, when a sub does that from a manager's perspective, you've done your job, haven't you?
Yeah, they weren't lucky. Look, we should have been home.
You make your own luck. Make your own luck.
But you do make your own luck. Yeah, we didn't take the chances. And this is why we find ourselves in 10th and not in the top 6 or in the top 2. Look, we've got Rotherham on Tuesday. Not only are they averaging 2 points a game away from home, they're doing the same at home. Really tough game Tuesday.
You say we didn't take our chances. We've only had 4 shots on target, 2 minimum with some stealing in the first half. Did we ultimately ask enough questions of Sunderland? As I keep saying, it's all about asking questions. Did we ask questions of them?
No, we probably didn't. And we said on Friday, looking at some of the comments their fans had said and some of the comments in the press, that Sunderland were really susceptible to set pieces and crosses into the box. And none of those deliveries were any good. None of them were any good. I mean, look, I'm not counting on Donatian sticking in a Messi style cross to anybody, but I mean, there was a really good chance when we were lined up in the box. It came to Genoy, he stuck it in behind everyone, and Bon has to go back onto his back foot where off his weight, and he heads it wide. I think we had like 5 corners in the first half an hour, and again we didn't stick anything indecent to trouble them. They'd conceded goals from set pieces and crosses. Carl Edwards, I thought played really well. He looked exciting on the ball.
He was just starting to build into the game, Matt, and then he yanked him off.
Then he gets subbed. Yeah. We called that Friday he'd be subbed. He gets subbed each time.
So I couldn't believe it when they said on the radio he's coming off. I was like, he's just sounding like he's getting more into the game, getting better. And then they pulled him off.
I'm underwhelmed with Cook as our manager right now, and I was underwhelmed with Sunderland, quite honestly, because, I see them as one of the big top dogs of the division, as does everybody else. And they didn't look like a particularly good side. I know they've been going through some tough times. That was their first win at home since late September, I think, in the league. And it's always the same way, isn't it? Along come Ipswich. Always the patsy, aren't we?
I'm going to flip it, right? Because what Kiwi says here is kind of is basically he's writing as me. I think I wish he could just be more flexible, and that's my biggest gripe with Cook, is that we're not flexible enough. Now I get it, right? We're trying to build a culture and a philosophy, and you do that when you're a manager through persistence over resistance. So you keep persisting with something. So this is the 4-2-3-1.
Yeah.
My issue is if this was a culture, because obviously we know from Demolition Man, do some of these players want it as much as I do, all the different sort of comments we heard back end of last season. So it was a culture shift. I think that's fair to say. But if it was a culture shift and we're building a culture, was 19 new signings the necessary ingredient, or should you have kept hold of the better players from last year, so your Downses and co, brought in 5 or 6 lieutenants to set the tone. So then the next year you go out and bring in 7, 8, 9 players, and there's already a expectation, a standard, a culture, and what's, when they arrive, the lieutenants are saying, no, we don't do it like this way. We do it this way. We do that. We do this. Because otherwise, if we're trying to set a culture with persistently 4-2-3-1, and it's not working, but we're not going to change it, that's like Albert Einstein's madness, isn't it?
Well, yeah. Certainly what you suggest there probably would have tailored our expectations as supporters a little bit more, I think. Like we say, you start building that foundation, you keep some of the faces around last season, although I do feel like Cook probably, in the games after Wimbledon and Northampton, he kind of like burnt his bridges with a lot of them, I think. He didn't want them there, did it? He said he was being a mission man, like you said. But certainly that might have tailored our expectations. But I do feel like a lot of these players that have come in and dropped down from the Championship have come on the back of Paul Cook, for one, being the boss, because they really like him and they've had success with him previously. And we know that from his CV. But Ashton also selling this kind of dream, the American money that has come in. And, it's almost like, but maybe behind the scenes, it is Project Premier League. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like this, they've sold the dream of a freight train. We'll go through League One. We saw the Mark Steed comment. We'll go through League One. We'll hit the Championship. Within 2 years, we're going to be in the Premier League and you'll see out your career in the Premier League or something. Are they the kind of conversations people have been having behind the scenes? I can only presume they must be, because I don't know why anyone would give up a Championship career mid-table, at least, or maybe push into the playoffs to come to Portman Road in League One.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's the only reason I can expect. But yeah, I do agree. Had you kept the Downs around, had you kept a couple of other players around, Alan Judge, for argument's sake, then you start seeing a bit more of a transition. Here comes some of the old guard with Cook's players, and then they do get phased out, and then you get the squad you've got right now. But I'm not certain those players would have dropped down for that culture of thinking. Is one thing.
But when you think about it, the players I'm sort of looking at here, Lee Evans didn't drop down from a division. He knows the standard and the culture that Paul Cook wants. He can implement that into the young players. Maybe playing next to Evans, Downs looks better. So a year on, you think differently about Downs. This is not about feeling Downs. This is about really. I'm trying to stick up for Paul Cook here and bring the balance to the show. I get why we're going with the 4-2-3-1 week in, week out. It's setting the standard, setting the culture, and setting the philosophy of how his Ipswich Town is going to play. I'm just then bringing a little bit more balance to that and saying, well, if you're going to set this philosophy and the persistence, and okay, Kelly says Downs would never stay, made it very clear multiple times he wanted to leave. Okay, then Dazelle, or it doesn't matter who you kept, you just supplement the better players. Because let's be honest, 10th position in League One with a midfield of Evans and Morsey, and we'll get to Evans in a second. You're not any better than you would have been if you'd had a midfield of Dazelle and Evans, are you? Surely.
No, we're not. Exactly. I mean, look, I guess the job of custodians of clubs, like I know the American guy said it to us, is to leave the club in a better place than what they found it. And you expect that from a manager as well, don't you? To be able to come in and fight and leave you in a better place when they do eventually go than what you was found. And in our expectation of that right now is to be in the Championship, but hey, I'm not seeing it right now.
I really like Cook. I really want him to get it right, because I really do want to like him. £10 from David. Thank you very much. Great show. Thank you. You don't realize how much I appreciate that right now. So thank you very much, David. Thank you. I really want him to succeed, because I think when he gets it right, he's a really warm, engaging, great guy. I also like the way he gives it to journalists. I like a little bit like a Portsmouth when he turns up and says about you. I've been reading your stuff.
Yeah.
But it's really hard at the moment, because persistence over resistance. But the resistance is every week. And if you put yourself in, I'll bring Neil Perks in a second, then we'll transition to Rotherham. Look ahead. Yeah. If you put yourself, Matt, into, is it Paul Warren's shoes?
Yeah.
If you put yourself into the crew manager's shoes. Isn't it? It's very easy at the moment, isn't it, to play against Ipswich Town, because you stop the ball into number 10. You press the 2 centre half, so you force the ball to go long to Bon, who can't win a ball in the air, and that's how you stop Ipswich Town Football Club. You suffocate the number 10, you pin the 2 centre backs back, and you force them to go long. And we never ever then go, okay, fine, you've answered that question in the test. This is a new set of questions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you said that last week, didn't you? It does feel like it's quite easy to play against Ipswich, or at least contain us. we saw it with Oxford last week. They really started, pressing against us, and there's energy about it. I often feel like it's not a lot of energy when the Ipswich come forward. And we said after the game last week, when we on the rare occasions we do counter-attack, it fizzles to nothing. People the opposition always seem to have more energy than us. It's just like, and I know a few of the guys said on the comments board here today in the chat have said, we don't get the ball forward quick enough. It's always going out to the sides. It's going out to the channels. It's frustrating. Yeah, I don't see. It does feel like we're just doing the same old thing, which is why we're not picking up wins.
One of our best moments this season, funnily enough, has come when we've had two strikers on the pitch. Long ball, Norwood flicks it on, Bond finishes it. We rescue the game at home opening day of the season. Because when teams force you to go long, you need that was the answer, and that was really good. It set the tone. It set because he brought two strikers onto the pitch. He changed, and that as a fan base, you thought, here we go. We got a manager that can know how to turn a game. And I just wonder, has he ever had this much resources? He's managed Chesterfield and Wigan. This is a lot of resources, and it's almost like when you turn around to the bench. It's almost like, which one of you fuckers do I bring on? Because there's so many of you.
It can go the other way, can't it? Maybe Cook thrives on being the underdog and working on a shoestring. Certainly had that at Chesterfield. He would have certainly had that at Wigan. And maybe this was, I'm thinking off the top of my head here. Was this around the time that Portsmouth was coming in and out of administration, owned by fans? Again,
they
were League Two. So that suggests they were down on their luck at that particular point. Maybe it's just maybe it's the right manager at the wrong time.
I want him to get it right. Callie says Dazelle was never going to stay until Fisherman wanted him here. Stephen Parry, we scored more goals than he did last year, so we probably are. Colin says 100% Gov. Ian says get the Gov a new poster. Oh, Christ. Chris McBain, I think we'll be stuck in this league for a number of seasons under Cook because every season will be a real build when our better players get offers in the Championship. I'm looking at Edmondson and I'm thinking you'll look great in a team next year, like a Norwich that comes down, suddenly wants to play football the right way because he's a good defender. He's going to be on the top end of the Championship sooner or later. He really is.
He's really. He won't hang around at Pullman Road for long. No, that's absurd.
Roy Clark, if Cook would only change this formation sometimes, it would totally surprise some of these teams, and they'd wonder what was going on. Kerr Avon, great. Thanks for the comment, Kerr Avon. New name, not seen that before. Welcome to Talking Town. We spent 3 million, not 30 million. The way some people carry on, Burley would never have been given the time to build his 2,000.
How do you know he spent? We don't really know we spent 3 mil, do we?
Well, okay, but let's take Kerr Avon on his point.
Is that in the public realm? I've not seen that.
No, but let's just say
he's right. Spent 30 mil either, so he's right there.
But then is 3 million in League One basically 30 million equivalent? How many teams at this level spending 3 million?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, look, we've been turned over by Accrington this season.
And Bolton. Fisherman, afternoon. Plan A didn't work. Let's try Plan A. Cook's been given the best summer transfer budget ever for any manager. Ipswich Cook's system is so easy to play against. He says Cook out. Okay, in Davis. If we don't go up, I think the poor handling of Norwood, a troubled soul I know, will be an issue. Better leadership needed. Paul Bird, the fridge's numbing yesterday was class. Neil Perks, are you ready, sir? Because your webcam is in the sky. There we go. Here he is. Neil, all the way from Somerset.
That's right, Gov. You're right. Yep.
Look at that. Look.
Get in there, Gov. You're getting there.
Making notes, look. Making notes.
I think you need to.
The criticism's getting to me, I've lost my head. I'm starting to make notes. But welcome, Neil. You've heard all the show. We'll give you sort of a few minutes on yesterday's game, then we'll keep you around for the Rotherham look ahead. What do you make of yesterday? What do you make of what you've heard so far?
Well, there's been some brilliant points today. I was working all day yesterday. So by the time I got home, just some brief highlights and things, really. But I listened to the after show program yesterday. It's all right, my throat's a little bit still not quite right yet. It seemed a game that was there, didn't it? It's very disappointing to come away with nothing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry.
From some of the. What's he laughing at?
Ian Davis put, we've saved 5 million in medical bills and we shipped out Bishop.
Love it. Sorry, Neil. And I suppose there's a number of players you could put on that as well. We're not going to say names. We're going, Neil. Sorry.
Yeah, as I say, it's very disappointing, wasn't it? They're there for the taking. I don't think Sunderland are no great shakes, are they at all?
Not at all.
I got to be honest. I look the goal that we conceded is, well, you could probably say many adjectives towards it, but it's appalling, isn't it? I mean, the keeper doesn't. When you look at it, the setup, and as Stephen said, that many players back there, I don't think the keeper even needs to come off his line. I just don't see that at all. What he's doing, I just don't know.
I won't hammer him too hardly for it, because
it's in the 6-yard box, isn't it?
Yeah, and I've been calling all season long. Ball in the 6-yard box is your ball, and I like how he's been aggressive with it and come to collect it. I just think the issue is the 3 players have been caught underneath the ball, and they all just stand there. He runs into them. It's them not dispersing. I was always taught a centre half, Neil. When you hear your keeper shout, and maybe he hasn't shouted, to be fair, but when you hear your keeper shout, so Walton's, you fucking get out of the way, sit quick, because he's going to come through like a ton of bricks.
There was a red and white shirt in there too. There is one in there.
Oh yeah, because he scored. Well, yeah, because he scored, Matt.
No, not the one who scored. Actually, in that melee of blue shirts.
Oh really?
There is one in there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not here to slay. I mean, I think he's a good goalkeeper. I mean, I like him, and when I watched him down in Plymouth, I know he let 2 goals in, but I thought he was very good when I watched him down there. So I certainly rate him. I just think it's just an awful goal to concede. I think whoever you're going to have a look at, it's just absolutely dire, isn't it? Really, it's
in the
terrible.
85th minute, away from home, with 5 minutes, we're probably taking a point away, which probably wasn't a great for us, but at least we hadn't lost to someone who was above us, Neil. And yeah, it's a poor goal to concede with minutes to go. Yeah, absolutely.
Neil, you say it's poor result, which it is. Sunderland, no great shakes, you've said, there for the taking. They're now sit 7 points ahead of us. So a team that's no great shakes sits basically 3 games ahead. Does that sort of paint how bad we've been, or does that paint how frustrated? Well, talk to me about that. Because they're fans.
I don't know. I think as a town fan, I think especially with the last period of years, you seem to have more questions than answers supporting town, don't you? I just think it just seems to be that way.
It's a great line. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when people talk about the football and things, it's like people say about Plymouth, and I can only you talk a little bit on Plymouth and probably some other teams. They probably don't have any massive standout players. They've got a good manager. He is a good manager. They've got a real unity there. They play for one another. All these ingredients to show where they are in the league. And the league doesn't lie, does it? The table doesn't lie. Someone said yesterday, what have we done? 1-6, drawn 6, lost 6. With the sort of, I want Cook to succeed. I want us to give him some time. But when you look at it, and you look at the money that's been spent and all the investment, it needs a bit of time. But is that a good return on it? I'd have to be totally honest and say that's not a good return. Not with the players we have.
You're right, Neil. And to 1-6, drawn 6, lost 6, just spells average, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You need to hear all there. We need that 8 from the playoffs.
Somebody said to me yesterday, if we'd given the money to the previous manager, we'd be running away with the league right now. That wasn't me. Before people say it, I didn't say that. Someone actually said that to me.
Mike the Fisherman makes a great point in the comments there that blue wall of defenders have got their back to the ball.
Yes, they have. Yeah. Mark said, I was sat behind the goal. He was silent. Keeper doesn't shout one iota. Okay, let's flip it to Rotherham. And we'll touch more on today's game on tomorrow's show, 8:30 extra time with the Fisherman and Tux. That promises to be a great show. 2 people with completely different points of view in regards to the football club. It's going to be great, and we'll look ahead to Rotherham as well on the Tuesday. But let's do some looking ahead now. Obviously, you want some accountability in your football team, Matt. Oldham, first game, full team put out. Next league game, only one change. I think was forced. Bailey Clements. Yesterday. Not the reaction you kind of want.
No.
Are we going to see some accountability from the management? And if so, how is that going to look? Is it going to look like Evans dropping out or Morsey dropping out? Who is going to be playing Tuesday? Sorry, not tomorrow, Tuesday.
Tuesday. Well, I certainly think Morsey's going to be playing. He's going to need that kind of physicality.
Would you start with Evans?
Well, he seemed to it took a while for him to go off at half time, didn't it? They were saying yesterday in terms of he was winded or something, I think he was. I don't know. I really don't know. I feel like this is a game we're going to need. Look, this is a championship team coming down. and bouncing back almost immediately in Rotherham. They do it all the time, don't they? I do think we're going to need the experienced. It's the full Amber picture. I feel like we're going to need the experienced heads in there. But I am not optimistic ahead of Tuesday at all.
No.
At all.
Neil, somebody say on SA's full-time show, this is a season-defining game. Defeat, season's over. Might as well pack it up now.
I agree.
You agree with it, do you?
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Neil, what do you think?
100%. It's a game we cannot afford to lose, isn't it? 100%. You can't shy away from that. And if you get a draw, you say it was a good point, possibly. But I mean, our home form hasn't been good, has it? It hasn't really been that good all season. I mean, we do seem a better team away from home. I know we lost yesterday, but we seem a better team away from home, don't we? That's what it certainly seems like.
We've only lost one. I think we've only lost one at home. Am I right in thinking that? The Bolton game?
I think so, yeah.
But yeah, there's been a lot of draws in there, haven't there? And Rotherham, like I said, Rotherham are not only averaging 2 points per game at home, they're doing it away. So it's going to be a really tough game. And I do feel like we're just going to be too far back at the end. And, it's all very well people coming on and going, I still think we can get in the playoffs. And I felt like, well, what are you basing that on? You just lost to Sunderland, and for argument's sake, you just lost to Rotherham.
I mean, they're certainly going to come and be really physical, aren't they? I mean, there's absolutely no doubt about that. Yeah. They're going to be bombarding balls in when they can. They've got some pace, but you're going to need people to get head on the ball. You're going to need people to be scrapping. So good job Morsey wasn't booked. You certainly need him in there.
Yeah, absolutely. I would put Selena, Neil. I'd put Selena over in his natural position, which I think is the left side.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Matt. He shouldn't be anywhere else bar there. Fraser, I think, should be in the 10. I think you need to start Chaplin, but then you're where are you putting all these players again, which has been spoke about. I just don't think you can keep playing Bond week in, week out. I just don't see that. And if he does start Bond, I mean, you've got to be giving Piggott a good half an hour or so. And I just wish that, if things aren't going right, or say even if it's 0-0, why can't you just chuck Piggott on with Bond for, say, half an hour and just play the two of them together and just say, have a go together? I know people say, oh, no one plays two up front, but just give it a go, change something, be a bit more proactive. You can't just keep doing the same thing all the time. Just keep doing the same thing and then hoping that sometimes it's going to come off. You have to change things to do some changes to make things different, don't you? Yeah. But you're just too predictable. You're too predictable otherwise. Teams just know what you're doing all the time. It's just too easy. You're second guessing,
And is that the Liam Richardson factor coming into play then, Matt, do you think, maybe? Where Liam was on the sideline whispering into the ear that you're or sitting round the coffee table saying, maybe this week we go this way.
I think I feel like maybe it's an element of what you said earlier, a manager with resources for the first time in his career. I agree with that. I do think the Liam Richardson thing is he's lieutenant on the touchline. I do feel like he probably is missing it. I know Mike the Fisherman has said that previously. We all thought Liam Richardson would be tempted to come down with Cook and be part of this freight train of promotion, and he's made a decision that he wants to carve out his own career, and fair play to him, and he's doing all right. So I think all of those are probably adding up to what we're seeing at the moment.
I'd have a question for you two that I was thinking about today, actually, when I heard about this Solskjaer thing here. And they're saying that the Solskjaer United, the job is just way too big for that guy. He was a cult hero and everything else, but the job's just way too big. They're probably the biggest club in the world, one of the biggest clubs in the world. I want Cook to do well. He's never. Would you two say? And I want him to do well, but with the resources and everything else now, which we've never have we? For not this sort of money and everything else. Is the job too big for him? Now that we've got all this money and everything else that goes with it, is it too big a job?
Yeah, maybe. No. That's been mentioned on here before as well, I think. Did Ben Adams say that? Was it Mike Brown? I can't remember.
One of the two. I don't think it is. I disagree with you there, Matt. I don't think it is. I just think I think he's trying to serve too many masters, in the sense he's trying to build a philosophy and a culture while trying to win games that make you a top 6 or a top 3 side. I think he's trying to accomplish as a manager 2 or 3 different things, Matt. Do you think I'm on the right track there?
Maybe he's just spinning too many plates. Maybe he is. I
You know?
mean, look, he has the CV to succeed here. We know that. But this is by far, I mean, you know, Tottenham in Portsmouth have had a better, have won more honours and been in the Premier League since we have. But so that was a big club. But I mean, we are still a big club. And he recognised that when he came, didn't he? It's such an honour for me and my family, a privilege to be part of this great football club. So he gets that. But for whatever reason, it's too average. You know, the 1-6, drawn 6, lost 6. It's just too average at the moment for the resources that he's got.
I almost think if the football club had come out and said this year's about building standards, culture, and an ethos, and if we finish 10th, so be it. It's about building a program of success, and every program of success from Fergie to Bobby Robson to anyone in between to Wenger has to start somewhere. You know, there's a famous story about when Arsene Wenger took over, Ian Wright couldn't cope with the diets, and you know, players that were out on the lash, they were sort of phased out, blah blah blah. He brought in this new way of thinking. Now, Town have been in the dark ages for far too long. If they'd said, you know, these Q&As is about the standards and culture, and if we finish 10th, it's not what we want to hear as a fan, I know, but so be it. We are building something for success. It hasn't though, and with the pack out PR and with all the positivity and you know the players arriving like Selena, like Morsey, fans have slowly built their expectation up, and the club. Maybe I'm wrong here, Matt. Have the club sort of done anything to downplay that expectation, or have they just sort of allowed?
Yeah, they have. Been crap on the pitch.
Crap on the pitch.
They're giving us the biggest sign going, aren't they? Look, the packet again, all that kind of stuff does raise expectation. And there's no doubt. I mean, the club have been very clever with the pack out PR in terms of the games they've chosen, all within about a week of each other, aren't they? Or maybe 2 weeks of each other. And you get so many games at Christmas, Neil. You can springboard in, can't you, on the back of a run? And that's what.
You certainly can, but. You know, you can, but it'd be good to start stringing some back-to-back wins and 3 or 4 wins on the trot. You know, we seem to get 1 or 2 and then a draw, and it's just you've got to try and.
Going back to your previous point, Neil, I would love to know. I'd love to know if Bon and Piggott do train together in a formation of them two up front. No one ever asked those questions in the media. I'd love to know what the alternative is.
But that'd be redundant, surely, because if you're never going to play it, why would you bother training it? That's like me training me dog to be an horse racer. Like,
you talk about Ipswich being in the dark ages. Is Cook's philosophy and tactics a little bit in the dark ages? Because, like, say, just for argument's sake, he will leave one day, right? So he's not going to be here forever. Everyone's got a shelf life. I would say because he's older than Lambert. Remember, he's been around the block. He's about 54, 55, maybe even older. So he's older than Paul Lambert when he's come to the job. I would say we'd be looking at someone like a Ryan Lowe down at Plymouth. You know, he's Joe Roll Mark II down there. He just wants to outscore the opposition, Neil, doesn't he? That's his philosophy.
I mean, again, Matt, what you're saying about Piggott and things, and people have said it this week, haven't they? You know, Cook's saying, well, I've had a chat with him. And then he gives him like 3 minutes and 11 minutes. All right, and a game in the FA Cup, you know, against Oldham, you know, but in the league, I mean, this guy needs more time than that, doesn't he? You can't be chucking him 3 minutes a year, 10 minutes a year. You know, a guy that's come down from Wimbledon. All right, I know they're not the size of club as we are. The guy's got 20 odd goals, hasn't he? You know, and you just can't burn one striker out like that. It's just like you guys. It's like you guys said already. If you get on top of the one striker and he's out of the game completely, and you start closing down 1 or 2 of the wingers as well, we're a bit lost for ideas then, aren't we? Once they get on top of the one striker. I mean, I personally think that I've been thinking this a couple of days. I mean, I think that I think as long, I don't want to see him lose his job, and it's good to get some stability, consistency, and all of that built in. But I think as long as we're around the top 6, I mean, I did a few weeks back, I thought top 2. Realistically now, I don't think that's going to happen, is it? I think it's going to be top 6 at the best. I think while we're around that, I think there's no reason we shouldn't be around there all season. I think, you know, let's hope we'll stick with Cook. But I think if it gets to the stage and, you know, say later on, I hope not, we're not in touch with the top 6, say we can't mathematically make it. I don't know. Would they stick with him to the end of the season, or would they think, you know, maybe we should just say part company now?
But this is it. There has to be a cut-off point. But Neil, fantastic comments as always. Thank you for coming on, my man. Look after yourself and all the best for the week ahead. Matt, we've heard some fantastic comments today. We've got Miss Chris McBain. Cook's in for next season. He was the chosen one with Evans, Ashton, and all the owners. He's not going anywhere. But maybe, possibly so. Lots of debate. It could rumble on, and it will rumble on. We're back tomorrow, 8:30, Talking Town's Extra Time with myself, the Fisherman, and Peaky Blinder Mark Tuxford. Paul Bird. It will be. Pigs for me doesn't look as if he's had the work rate that Bond has. That may just be holding him back on the system being played.
I mean, he did, he scored that 20+ goals in Wimbledon team that was struggling against relegations. They weren't the most creative of sides, were they? There was a reason they were down there. But he still obviously was clinical. When he had the opportunities, he scored. It was a great return for a team that was finished just outside the relegation zone. Absolutely.
Yeah, completely agree with that. We'll see what it's what Rotherham brings. It's a big game. We'll discuss it more. Yeah, I can sense that. It was interesting because as you were talking there with Neil, I was thinking this is a complete role reversal. This was me a couple of weeks ago, and Matt and Rich keep telling me, "Oh, great manager, keep the faith," blah blah blah. And you're saying all the things back to me that I was saying to you, and it's like
you can only go on the results. I'm not going to come on this show and waste everyone's time by giving you some blind faith. Do you know what I mean? We have to go on the fact of where we are in the table, the results you're seeing, the performances on the pitch. It's very underwhelming. I'm very disappointed.
Tom James makes a great point, and I think we might pick this up on tomorrow's show, but can only hope we're in touch by the pack-out PR games. Could be flat for the new owners otherwise.
I feel like I'd be very surprised if we're in touch when we come to those games.
Worries me though those 3 games. We're not great in front of big crowds, and it's like we need points, and it's like the worst thing we could do is get a big stadium because we will disappoint. We
can never quite. It's just a typical. We can never quite marry the two up, can we? Like when Roy Keane came in under Evans, he came in with the profile, and the Evans logic was, we get to the Premier League at the first time of asking, we'll put some budget behind it, and suddenly we'll become this almost global name, and we'll hook in, we'll angle into Keane's popularity in Asia, and then we'll be in the Premier League forevermore after that. We couldn't marry that up, could we? Now we've got someone who's come in as Cook, who's won trophies, he's won promotions, done a great job at small clubs like Wigan. He's given all the resources here. Now we're 10th.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. And it's so good off the pitch. The fan forms, wonderful. I love watching those. Mike O'Leary speaking, Ed Schwartz coming over, Ed Sheeran, another Ed, sponsoring the shirts, and Ashton being open and transparent with everybody, which you didn't see under Evans one iota. You didn't even know what Evans looked like for a decade. No. And now it's all happening on the pitch.
Absolutely. Well, we'll carry this debate on tomorrow evening. But for now, Talking Town has done. Thank you for watching. You can support us through Ko-Fi. Thank you for the YouTube Super Chat, David. But until tomorrow, 8:30, with love, with care. Here's the Media Mogul. I am the Gov.
See you soon.
Adios, friends.
It's absolutely embarrassing. We've just lost to teenagers.